Shalom, Bear Nation. It's Bear, BearIndependent.com. You know who I am. That's why you're here. Debt and SHTF. Got a question from a viewer about how to deal with their personal debt. Should they be schwacking away at their debt a la Dave Ramsey, or stacking food to the rafters, buying N95 masks and filling a bathtub full of hand sanitizer because of the China flu? Can't say the name anymore, thanks YouTube, because it'll get you instantly demonetized, which is fun. And so I'll tell you two things. Well, I'll tell you three things, but we're going to do two real quick. First is, I can't tell you what to do in your life, especially with debt. But I will tell you where I stand on it. And if there's something in there you can use, awesome. But I don't know enough about you, the person who asked the question, and you, the person viewing the video, to give you any kind of life advice with any specificity. So use what you can, discard the rest, okay? The second is, my wife wants me to tell every one of you that she is now running the Bear Independent web store at BearIndependent.com. And that there are patches, stickers, iFax, t-shirts, and thumb drives with the Prepper Classroom 1 through 10 and 11 through 20 on there, and a two-pack, a twofer. There's a twofer on there, you know. And so it would help me in my walk with my wife to be able to say, honey, I told them that. So I told them that. You've been told. Feel free to go peruse it, or don't. It's okay. We do have the pooping unicorn sticker in the web store finally, so that is a thing now. That was a Patreon exclusive for a long time, and I'll be coming up with another Patreon exclusive sticker in the near future. So the third thing I will tell you about debt is that a debtor, yes son, a debtor is a slave to his debt. As I'm sure a lot of y'all are aware, I don't like debt even a little bit. Not even a little bit. And by the hand of the Father and the sweat of my brow and the blood of my hands, we don't have any debt. And we have a decent amount of assets for a relatively young couple with 3 kids living off the land. Praise the Father. Which is, I think, why this question is asked. What should I do? I'm trying to eliminate my debt. I don't want to be a slave to my debt, but I also don't want to get caught with my pants around my ankles when the poo hits le ventilateur. What shall we do? Now, historically speaking, probably the best example that we have in the United States of SHTF is the Great Depression, when we're talking about debt and economic collapse. And then next from there, we could look at things like the Civil War and war debt and so forth and so on. And so we'll touch on that a little bit. Right now, spring 2020, there are farmers who cannot get crop insurance because they had a failed harvest in spring 2019 and a failed harvest in fall 2019, which, because of those two failed harvests, they can't get insurance on their crop now in spring 2020. And without insurance on the crop, let's fix this eyebrow. You're welcome, YouTube. With that, yes, I do look like a young Tom Selleck. Thank you, the person who keeps emailing me about that. You're right, I do. How's this for a face? Anyway. That means that there are farmers, a lot of them, that because they can't get insurance on this harvest, spring 2020, they can't get financing. Credit plants crops these days, or at least a lot of crops these days. I don't know if it's the majority. I saw a statistic that I'm not sure I believe, but it was something like commercial agriculture provides 40% of all of the calories grown in the United States, and small scale agriculture provides the other 60%. I'd be willing to bet based upon where I live, it's the other way around. So that might be a regional thing on my end. But when you amortize it out over the vast landmass that is the United States of America, it shifts in the other direction. I don't know. But I do know that millions of farmers, because they can't get credit to buy the seed to plant the crop, have put their farms up as the secured asset against the debt required to buy the seeds. They're betting the farm. If that crop fails, banks will become the owners of farmland, and the banks will likely do their best to sell that farmland off as quickly as possible because they don't know anything about farming. But sell it off to who? Probably the Chinese, maybe. See what their economy keeps doing. Maybe other farmers, maybe, you know, Satan, who knows? I don't know. But the point is that those assets will be seized. I think, based upon what I know from the Great Depression and the Civil War, assets will be seized. And so things like student loan debt, unsecured debt, I don't know how that's going to be treated. Will there be debt forgiveness? If there is, bye-bye economy. The student loan debt bubble is something that has been discussed ad nauseum elsewhere. I don't talk a lot about it at this channel because I'm not a financial professional, nor do I even pretend to be one on the internet. And I try and stay in my lane. I really do try and stay in my lane. More pretentious people would say, we have people for that. And we do have people for that. Those people don't want to speak on camera. Actually, they do, but their companies don't want them to. You have to do erroneous jaw movement when you talk like that. So, the people that I have for that are not in a position because of the jobs that they do and the clients they serve to discuss it openly on camera. So, therefore, I try not to discuss it on camera too much, but all the caveats. Unsecured debt, I don't know, but secured debt, they're going to take that. They're going to take your land. They're going to take your house. They're going to take your car. They're going to whatever they can so that they can recover something to sell against the debt so they can make it liquid, right? There'll probably be debt consolidation, which could potentially lead to bank failure. Again, we know that there's a lot of funny business going on with our monetary system and the Fed. And so I would worry more. Again, I'm not a financial advisor, just to be perfectly clear. Where my brain goes is the common man, based upon what I know, I would worry more about secured debt, my mortgage, my car payment, stuff like that, than unsecured debt, if it was me. I'm also right now, and this is an important point, as of right now, subject to change in between now and when I shoot this video, or at any moment based upon the conviction of my heart or the conditions on the ground, I'm also right now a lot less worried about political chaos in 2020 because of the Trump impeachment or lack thereof. And so because of that, the three things that I pay a lot of attention to are civil unrest due to political chaos, food scarcity, and economic collapse. Now, economic collapse is imminent. I think there was a correction that didn't happen in 2008 that should have, and now we're in a worse position than we would have been if we had just, taken our hits in 2008. We just kicked the can down the field, the road. I've never played kick the can. I guess you kick it in the street. We just move the problem into the future rather than dealing with it, okay? Food scarcity, I think, is going to be a real issue, or it's at least going to become more real than it is right now. My back got warm for a minute. I was just making sure my chair wasn't on fire. See, they're far back there. Food scarcity. again, spring 2020, we need to be praying for these farmers that they get a crop in, for us and for them. And you can be as selfish or selfless in that prayer as possible, whatever moves you. But we need the food they produce, and they need to produce that food so they can hold on to the family land, okay? And get some money coming in, MCI, money coming in. Coupled with historical grow regions seem to be coming offline, and ancient grow regions seem to be coming online. This is the kind of stuff that David at Adapt 2030 talks about a lot. Christian at Ice Age Farmer talks about a lot. I see that happening, and I try to be a skeptic, honestly, with the grand solar minimum, but I'm experiencing it. I'm living it. We have had an incredibly wet year or season. Well, basically, since I've been here, it's not stopped raining. In eastern Oklahoma, what I like to refer to as Arklatexa, it has not stopped raining. I live in the Pacific Northwest of eastern Oklahoma. It is, if I wanted to live in Seattle, I'd live in Seattle. But I'm not that into flannel, so I don't, okay? And I like gun laws that affirm the Second Amendment, not try and destroy the Second Amendment. Thank you very much. So, food scarcity, I believe, is a real thing. You look at the grand solar minimum effects, the locusts in Africa, holy cow, man. As of last week, again, subject to change in real time, because this video will sit on the shelf for a while before it posts, because that's the nature of how I do YouTube, and I'm pretty honest about it. As of a week ago, these locusts were eating enough food to feed 35,000 people per day. So let's just use round numbers. 70,000 pounds of food a day. And their numbers are expected to increase 500-fold within the next few months because of the way their life cycle works. That's a problem. So we go from 70,000, 500-fold, what's that, 3.5 million a day? That's a problem. That's a big problem. So in 100 days, they've eaten 3.5, no, in 1,000 days. But then the life cycle, the brain, with the math, it's tremendous, believe me. Point is, they're gonna eat a lot of friggin' food, okay? A lot. And I'm not gonna do a lower third graphic with the math on it because I don't do lower third graphics. But you could imagine that the right number popped up right here, right now. Bing, boom, great production value, you're welcome. Have I mentioned we're in eastern Oklahoma? So food scarcity for real. I'm following that. Political and civil unrest, I'm following that. As of right now, spring 2020, I'm not very worried. Got very little concern right now, spring 2020, over that. Political unrest, which leads to chaos. Which is good. That's a good thing. I don't want chaos. I want rule of law. I want to be able to sit here, burn wood, and talk at my iPhone with y'all, okay? Hang out with my Pocket Tactical Moshe. Thanks, Granny Puckett. He's kind of been living on this tripod now. It's good. It's good. And then the economy. I believe the economy is due for a correction. And I'm not the only one who believes that. So I think you need to decide what you do with that revenue. Right now, I really believe that you should have food put up. I am still convicted to keep stocking food. I think that we find ourselves in the 7 fat years, going into the 7 years of lean, referencing Joseph in the Old Testament. Genesis, I believe. In the 30s, Genesis 30-ish. May even be before that. I think it is before that. Anywho, I think we still have time to get food now. I don't know how much longer we will have. I don't know if it's a week or a month or a year or a decade. I don't know. I do know that my conviction to stack food to the rafters has not gone away. I will continue to stack food to the rafters. and always acknowledging that I would love to be wrong. I would love to be the crazy guy from the internet that everybody's mad at because they bought 2 pounds per person per day of food for a minimum of a year, and they spent all that time and that money and nothing happened. Awesome. That's a victory, y'all. That's the price of admission for the good stuff of life. Knowing that we've gotten that handled so that if something happens, we can still eat, so we can perpetuate normalcy for the people that we love. Good. That's the price of admission that I pay to normal everyday life. Got some chicken bow chicka wow wow going on over here. Interesting. So, the economy, I think, is gonna take a poop here in the near future. How near, I don't know. But I'm not in debt. It has been a goal of mine for a long time to not be in debt. And praise the Father, we're not. And it took a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to be not in debt. And so, if you're not already busting your ass to be not in debt, you should be, says me. For no other reason than a debtor is a slave to his debt, and you are servicing that debt with your household revenue. If you have $1,000 a month worth of debt, you get rid of that. Now all of a sudden you've got $1,000 a month to do whatever the hell you want to with it. Whether that's buy preps or save for a vacation to Disney World or go on a cruise or build a deck or buy a new car or whatever. Right, you're freeing up a lot of revenue right there. So maximize your income, minimize your expenditures, and grind, pay down that debt, and get done. That's what I would do. And I realize I've meandered all over the place, but that's okay. It's my channel and my video, and I get to do that. So I can't tell you whether to prioritize debt over prepping, because I don't know how prepped you are, and I don't know how much debt you have, and I don't know how much revenue you have to service that debt. So it's hard for me to say. My prepping really got serious when my debt went away. That's a data point. That's real. When you free up all that revenue that would otherwise be going to your creditors, you got a lot more money to work with. But only you can decide what order you need to act in. For right now, the sky ain't falling. It's not falling for me right now. You'll have to figure that out on your own. Click the baby bear. Thank you, patrons, for supporting this video and this channel at large. We appreciate you. Couldn't do it and wouldn't do it without you. Shalom, Bear Nation.